Okay, guys, so let's listen again to John talking about his hobby. And we have to answer these questions. Question number one, what is his favorite hobby? Two, where and when he does it? Three, what clothes and equipment does he use? Four, what he likes about it? And finally, what is the best bet? So let's listen carefully because you have to answer these questions. So let me play the recording about John.
Tape script 2.8. Free time activities. John.
My favourite hobby is cooking, and that's a thing you do at home, obviously. I cook most days, though not every day. We also like eating out, you see. What clothes and equipment do I need? Well, I always wear a chef's apron to protect my clothes because you can make a mess when you're cooking. And tomatoes and spices change the colour of your clothes forever. The most important piece of equipment is knives. I'm very fussy about my knives. They're German and very sharp, and I really look after them. Obviously, in the kitchen, you need all sorts of things like pots and pans and casserole dishes and chopping boards and food mixers, but I don't really have a lot of gadgets. I like to keep things simple. What I like about cooking is the fact that it's creative and it's real. We have to eat, and what we eat is really important. So I like to know that what I'm eating and what my family is eating is good. I actually like all the preparation. Going out shopping, seeing the food, feeling it, smelling it, talking to the people who are selling it is half the fun. People often ask me what I like cooking, and I don't really have an answer. Whatever looks good, and whatever I feel like cooking that day. The best bit is, of course, seeing people enjoy my food. But what's also very important to me is seeing everyone happy and enjoying being at the table. It's about the occasion as much as the food.
So this is it. Now, after listening to the recording, let's answer question number one. What is his favorite hobby? Absolutely. Now, question number two, where and when he does it? Question number three, what clothes and equipment does he need? Question number four, what he likes about it? Now, the final question is, what about the best bit, according to John? So this is it. I hope that you answered all the questions correctly. Now let me scroll down to the next page, which is making small talk. Now, I need you to listen to the conversation that we have. This conversation is between Anne and Lars. And absolutely, I have to tell you something concerning this conversation. Before we listen, let me ask you a question. Why our conversations don't last long? Why most of our conversation with people is really short? Because it doesn't last long, and I need the listener just to speak to me and to keep talking to me because I don't want my conversation to be really short. Let's listen to the conversation because I want to show you something after listening to the conversation. Let me show you the full page and let's listen. Listen carefully, please, because as I told you, I have to tell you something. when we finish listening to this conversation. So the recording is 2.9. Let me play the recording and please listen carefully.
Tape script 2.9. Making small talk.
So what do you think of Liverpool, Lars?
It's really interesting. Liverpool's such an old city, isn't it? There are some lovely buildings, and the people are so friendly.
Yes, they are, aren't they? When did you get here?
2 days ago, I got the plane from Oslo. We were a bit late landing, but it didn't matter.
Oh, good. Where are you staying in Liverpool?
At the Grand Hotel. It's very convenient for the office. My room isn't very big, but it's okay.
What a pity. Never mind. Where are you from?
Well, from Norway. I was born in Bergen, but I live in a suburb of Oslo. It's very pretty, and it's not far from the sea.
Really? Sounds beautiful. Your English is very good. Where did you learn it?
That's very kind of you, but I know I make a lot of mistakes. I learned it at school for years, and I've been to England quite a few times.
Oh, have you? How interesting. And what are you doing here in Liverpool, Lars?
I'm attending a conference. I'm here for 5 days, and I'm going home on the 17th.
Oh, so soon. And have you managed to get around our city yet?
I haven't seen very much. I've been for a walk along the riverside, and I've taken a ferry across the Mersey, but I haven't seen the Beatles exhibition yet.
Well, I hope you enjoy it. Don't work too hard.
I'll try to enjoy myself. Bye. It was nice to talk to you.
Okay. Now, first of all, guys, if you want your conversation to really last long, number one, you have to use the question tags. So notice here that we have the question tag, which is Liverpool is such an old city, isn't it? So using the question tag is really important just to complete the conversation and not to stop. Because in using the question tag, so notice here, oh, have you? You are telling the listener that you have to speak, you have to complete speaking. So this is a good skill to use for your conversation. Now, skill number 2, you have to use WH questions. Absolutely, you don't have to use a yes or no question, because the yes or no questions, you need to give short answers by only saying yes or no. But in asking WH questions, absolutely, you need the listener to answer and to keep talking. The third skill is to add comments. So add comments as much as you can, just to, as I told you, for the conversation just to last long. So notice the comments in the conversation that we have between Lars and Anne. Finally, guys, you have to add or use enough adjectives and adverbs. So if you want to take a look at the conversation, we notice that we have a plenty of adjectives and adverbs plus adjectives, so adverbs. Very kind, a lot of mistakes. Okay. We have also soon. So, very interesting, for example, and I hope. So, this is the best way for your conversation, as I told you, to last longer and not to be really short. So, this is the exact thing you need to apply just to keep the conversation going. Okay. Another thing, guys, you have to manage and use is to soften your comment. Absolutely, if you want to add a comment, you have to soften that comment, especially if you are in an informal conversation, for example, or maybe if you are writing, no, not informal, but formal. Okay, so again, if you are writing a formal letter, or if you are engaged in a formal conversation like a meeting or an interview, you have to soften your speaking and comment. Let me give you a certain example about the best way just to soften your comment Notice that here, example number one is we were late landing. So notice that this is something not that good. You can say that we were a bit late landing. So notice that a bit is really good to use just to soften the comment. Let me show you the example in the conversation because here we have let me try to read fast because a bit I think we used it. This nope. This is it, a bit late. So he didn't say really late, for example, but he said a bit late. Okay, now the next example that we have in the box, we have my room is tiny. So notice that tiny in a certain way is a negative word. So instead of saying tiny, you can say isn't very big. So notice the using of antonym or antonym, the using of antonyms plus the negative just to make it or just to have the same meaning. So the meaning of tiny is not very big. So this is a good way just to soften the conversation because I have to avoid using negative words, especially if I'm in formal speaking or if, as I told you, if I'm writing an informal sorry, if I'm writing a formal letter or maybe an email, absolutely I have to soften my comment, especially if I'm writing a letter to someone I don't know. Okay, now I need you to practice just to soften your comment. Now let's try to do so, and we have to use the words in the brackets. Number one, instead of saying it's expensive, now try to use bit. Exactly, you can say it's a bit expensive. Two, it's hard. Now we have quite. Now three, we have it's cold. Now we have warm. This is an antonym you can use like this. Four is saying they are rude. Rude is a completely negative word, and I have to replace it with a friendly. As I told you, you have to do like this. Now five, I learn very little and I have to use much. What do you think? Now six is saying there is nothing to do when I have to use very much. Okay, good job. Now I think we have to complete in exercise 5, but we have to do that with some students. So see you soon and thank you for watching.